Welcome back to another exciting episode of life-changing discussion we hold on Lead Talk Podcast and Lead Talk TV. And today we are having a phenomenal subject which is a need of an hour. But before that, I want to start by always expressing our gratitude on behalf of me and on behalf of our founder, Dr. Gerald Amandu. I welcome him on the episode as well. Welcome, Dr. Gerald.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure always having this wonderful conversations together.
Yes.
So we want to express our gratitude and we want to thank all our audiences and viewers for your unconditional love and support and so many comments and responses and reaching to us.
Yes.
And we are also happy that people want to be with us on our podcast, and we welcome you all with your success stories, with your struggle winning stories. I would also recommend all of you, if you have not watched already the previous great interviews of Coach Razmik, Emma, Coach Simona and Dev Sethi, please go back and do not miss out on the golden nuggets shared by them only on Lead Talk Podcast. I also want to mention all our lovely guests have been generous with the special bonuses and gifts which we have shared with you in the previous episodes. So do go there and download them and use them for your success, because your success is our success. So we acknowledge you, and we acknowledge also that you're taking out all out efforts on sharing our episodes, downloading and subscribing it. And we are more motivated to serve you at our best of the ability. So welcome to today's episode. And today's episode is very special because it is about your future.
Yes.
We are all working today to create our future. And what we have done yesterday has created our present. So today's episode is on why you need to future-proof your career now, especially if you are in your mid-40s. In this episode, we will be discussing the latest trends in the global job market, why it matters to take the responsibility of your income in your own hands. This way, you will have the ability to stay strong during future economic meltdowns, surprises coming our way, some pleasant, some unpleasant, and other global economic downturns. We know the question of career transition is not easy for most of the people, and that is precisely why we have decided to talk about it in today's episode. Besides, we also plan to discuss revive your career, transition to the new practice so that you are firmly in charge of your destiny and can take care of your family, your loved ones, and yourself. Knowing that this may be a challenge, what if there were some ways we could make the process a little bit easier for you to change your career destiny? So this episode addresses this very concern. And this episode, we explore with you why now is the right time to begin your career transition plan in a good time when you have so many opportunities in your hand already.
Yes.
Such preparedness always assures that you are future ready and not sitting unprepared or sitting on the fence for eventualities which is happening in your career and then go into a response mode rather than planning and having a control mode. We want you to give that transformational tips on how to adopt career cushioning strategy that will serve you and your life mission. So I thank my founder, Coach Gerald, for having this conversation with us today, because he has huge wisdom and nuggets to share with us, which is going to help each and everyone who is in the same zone.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Gerald, why did you choose to speak about or talk about the need for our audience to be future-proofing their career right now? And what message would you like to pass on to them?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, my co-founder, Coach Shilpa, for this wonderful welcoming our audience, our listeners, and also welcoming me as your co-presenter. Yes,
always.
This is an excellent question, Coach Shilpa, because Before I answer this question,
Yeah.
this is a very, very special time. And as I
Yeah.
mentioned, today we will begin this talk with our quote of the week, as we usually do,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
our quote of this week is preparation through education is less costly than learning through tragedy.
Wow. Can you say
Let
it
me say
again?
that
This is
again.
very deep. Yes.
So Max Mayfield, the American meteorologist, once said that preparation through education is less costly than learning through tragedy. And as you just
Mm,
mentioned during your intro, that a lot of things are happening in the job market,
mm,
especially for people as you listen to us, if you're in your mid 40s, definitely you're somebody who is at the cusp of experiencing these tremendous changes in the job market. And this
yes.
podcast is specially designed for you. So, what this means, Coach Shilpa, to get back to your question, is as a
Mm,
knowledge worker or a professional person, you need to avoid the tragedy of a job loss
yes.
if you have to deal with your future rightly. So
Yeah.
avoiding that, just like Max Mayfield said, avoiding is through preparation. And this
Yes.
is the concept of future proofing we're talking about, so that your income
Mm-hmm.
currently can also go into the future without
Mm,
necessarily having to depend on the job. So we don't want you to start acting when it's too late. So
yes.
I chose this topic specifically because
Mm-hmm.
last week when I was looking through a couple of pictures and a couple of magazine that
Mm-hmm.
come to my email, and
Mm-hmm.
especially Forbes and Inc., there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of talk about AIs taking away jobs, right?
Yes.
And the implication of this, which unfortunately most people, and as you're listening to me, maybe this will take you by surprise, is that in the next 5 to 10 years, many jobs that are feeding families and keeping marriages alive will be disappearing really, really fast. And both of you, you know that Coach Silp and I are family people. And so keeping family in the integrity, we know requires job security, because when the families do not have fees, when they don't have food, when they don't have shelter, there's very
Yeah.
likely to be chaos in the family. And so the interesting thing is that those people who are in their 40s right now are at the greatest risk, because what happened is that because of the preparation, they were not prepared well for transitions that are coming very, very rapidly. So
Yeah.
this is where we want to open your eyes to seek for safe alternatives, called Shilpa.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that insight. And indeed, this is a very immediate future problem, what most likely people are going to face, even if we do not want that to happen.
Mm.
However, as we also discussed in our previous episodes, the mistakes working professional do is taking job security for granted. And this is the point you're bringing it. Let's not take it for granted. Let's start preparing right away so that we are not at a crossroads where we do not have a choice. So having a choice is a matter of preparation. So Coach Gerald, thank you for sharing your concerns. So what are the major concerns with the impending job losses you see?
Very interesting question. Coach Silva, the main concern about job losses come
Mm-hmm.
mainly from two sources. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
first relates to artificial intelligence. As
Yes.
you know, right now, artificial intelligence is rapidly advancing in many areas. And what this is happening, what this is doing is that the activities of the workers right now
Mm.
are being cut into pieces and then getting automated. See,
Yeah.
originally in many industries, people left home, they went to the factory, they went to the job and did the job from A to Z. But right
Mm.
now, the tendency is that those different jobs are being automated out. So instead of going from, let's say, point A to point Z,
Mm.
you now have a job from point let's say point P to point Z. Now,
Hmm.
while this happens, you could still have your job, but significantly the working hours are going to be cut. And what that's going to do, your pay is going to go down. So
Hmm.
the second reason is that many industries are experiencing changes in technology. There is
Mm-hmm.
also competition,
Yes,
and the market forces are making some trades unprofitable or even obsolete.
absolutely. Yeah.
So finally, the third point is that with globalization, many companies are solving the supply chain problems that I'm sure you do remember as you're listening to us. During the pandemic years, we experienced severe supply chain problems. So what companies are doing is they are distributing their manufacturing points across the world so
Hmm.
that geographical challenges are no longer going to come into place so that they are really making sure all the manufacturing and production points are across the world. And the
Hmm.
implication of this at the personal level is that jobs are disappearing from different areas where these factories, where these offices were located, and they're going to
Hmm.
different areas. And then what is happening is that the people who have lost their jobs because the industry has moved are
Hmm.
now required to have different skill sets. Now,
Yeah.
the challenge called Shilpa is that the people we're
Hmm.
talking about, those in their 40s, do not have these skill sets ready for them to move on. And
Yes.
this explains why many people are finding themselves being made redundant.
Yes.
And this is where the problem lies, God Silva.
Oh, thank you, Kojaral, because you've explained it in so much of depth. Because now we start feeling the gravity of the problem and fear of being a stagnant and fear
Mhm.
of being redundant are the huge fears senior professionals face. And you are exactly addressing the same. So I love the way you have painted the picture in detail of the job situation. How serious is the forecast that in the coming decade, many jobs will either become redundant, irrelevant, or may simply disappear?
Wow, Coach Shilpa, I like the way you have. This question is very, very topical.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really difficult as we speak now
yeah,
to give the exact figures.
yes.
But experts predict that AI could create 58 million jobs globally in the next decade. So when we talk about the next 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty significant, okay? 58, almost
Yes,
60 million jobs.
yes, yes.
However, let's not be excited. Whereas AI is going to create almost 60 million jobs globally,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what it's going to do is it's going to remove up to 370 million jobs,
Oh,
which is almost 400 million jobs over the next 10 years are going to disappear.
five times,
Five
five to
times,
six times.
five
Yes.
to six times actually, right?
Mm,
So what this means is that if we look, for instance, the US is one of the countries that keeps its statistics very well. So if
mm-hmm.
we look at the recent statistics, for instance, in 2 years ago, almost two
Mm-hmm.
years ago, in 2020, the US lost up to 60 million jobs, according to Forbes, okay, to technology. And
Mm,
this does not count the pandemic. Now, according to a recent article that came on financeonline.com,
mm.
it estimates that by 2030, almost 40 million Americans could lose their jobs due to a shift towards automation. Now, this is
That's
very
huge.
significant. So imagine
Huge.
40 million families becoming losing the source of income. That's not a simple situation, right? And so we see that because the US kind of is a reflection of what happens globally. So you
Mm,
also see that globally, among the at most risk job losses are knowledge workers. Now,
yeah.
these are people, as you know, who went to school. Many of them, actually, all of them have college degrees. They're educated, many of them have postgraduate degrees.
Yes.
Knowledge workers in fields such as banking, such as insurance, such as finances, factory workers, courier workers, even customer service. All
Hmm.
these kind of jobs are at very high level of risk because the technology in those areas is advancing so rapidly. And
Hmm.
even Coach Shilpa, you may find this pretty interesting. A
Mm-hmm.
recent article that I picked up was even saying that jobs that for years people thought, like
Yeah.
jobs of lawyers, jobs of doctors, would be safe.
Professionals. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Independent professionals. Yeah.
that's not true.
Oh,
Many aspects of their job is being automated. So what technology is doing, the routine jobs in all the professions is being phased out so
hmm.
that a few jobs are going to be left. So in a way, you might really say no job is
Hmm.
really safe, Coach Silva.
Yes. Yes.
That
Can't
is,
take it for granted. Yeah.
yes, like you said, time has passed where where we should take job security for granted.
Yes.
So what this means is that millions and millions of knowledge workers need to find a way to
Hmm.
reinvent themselves if they
Hmm.
are to remain relevant in this new world in which we operate.
Yeah.
And one of these requires them to be reskilled. I mean, with reskilling, we mean if you're an accountant, you probably may have to know more of computer science so that you can do
Hmm.
certain things, right? So
Yes.
from accounting, you're going to accounting plus computer science. So you have to reskill yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
what needs to be happening? The
Mm-hmm.
audience needs to understand that this reskilling is
Mm-hmm.
not just like for few jobs. Basically, majority of the jobs where people went to college, when they went to
Hmm.
study and became specialized, they need to re-begin, they need to think again and see, okay, what are the areas that may likely be automated so that okay, I can prepare ahead of time. And
Yes.
Coach Silpa, you'll be surprised. Recently, a
Mm-hmm.
study done by IBM stated
Mm-hmm.
that more than 120 million workers globally, just in the next 3 years, will need to be retrained. Can you just think for a moment the implication of this?
Yes. Massive.
This is massive. 120 million workers in 3 years. And we're talking about 23, 24, 25.
Yeah.
So this means companies are going to be stressed because of this. So the amount of individuals who will be impacted by this requirement is massive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if
Mm-hmm.
people don't open their eyes, this doomsday is coming. It's a significant thing. And this is why you and me are here trying to
Yeah.
sound the alarm and saying, hey, professionals, if you're in
Yes.
mid 20s, if you're in mid 30s and mid 40s, you need to begin to think outside the box. It's no
Yeah.
longer time to just sleep and hope
Yes.
for the best because hope is not a good strategy, Coach Shilpa.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hope is not a good strategy, though it is required for living. It's not a strategy at all. And you are giving such a significant and deep research information here, Coach Gerald, because I deeply value it. Because unless and until the information is backed by a research,
Mm.
people tend to ignore it. And now you have supported that with so much of deep research which actually speaks the number. So it's the question of fact and not only the perception. That's what you're bringing out the point,
Yes.
right? And also, as you're saying, all workers, even those who remain redundant, even after all this threat, they need to be reskilled. They cannot be taking their old knowledge or experience and skill for granted. And along with their technical skills, they would need additional skills to remain relevant in the coming economy and the global market. So now
Yes.
that you have given us more information about the high risk industries, who are likely to impact, what are the skills, what should our audience be doing to avoid the tragedy of job loss, uncertain things, uncertain times coming here,
Mhm.
and stop themselves from being redundant, getting redundant?
Wow, wow. Thank you, Coach Shilpa, for that excellent question. You see, the
Yeah.
best thing a person can do um, is what Alexander Graham Bell, the Scottish-born inventor, I'm sure many of you know, he was a
Yes.
scientist, was an engineer. He brought the telephone to us. You see, the
Yes.
telephone today is a smartphone, right? You remember
Yes.
those days, it used to be the old one with all these kind of things.
Telephone. Yes.
Exactly, the tradition of telephone. So all this technology of telephone came from him. And one of the things he said, and I quote, is that before anything else, preparation is the key to success. Let me
Wow.
say this again.
Yes.
Alexander Graham Bell said, before anything else, preparation is the key to success. So,
It is
Coach
success.
Shilpa, what this means is that after knowing that technological advancements and global trends are increasingly putting existing careers at risk, the
Hmm.
best preparation for you, our audience, as you listen to us, is that you need to bulletproof your career so
Hmm.
that you have alternatives to your current employment and source of income, so that you have something to fall back on. If tomorrow your boss says, hey, Gerard, hey, Shilpa, hey, Angela, hey, Muhammad, the company is closing, we're downsizing, you do not break down. We've seen cases
Yes.
where people break down. They almost go crazy because the source of income is gone. So the most important consideration, every middle-aged knowledge worker should focus right now as we speak, is
Yes.
to focus on your skills, focus on expertise, focus on your knowledge. You have those. And then
Yeah.
you need to find ways of turning this into your asset
Hmm.
in such a
Wow.
way that you should turn this into permanent assets. This is what Nightingale says, these are your acres of diamond right
Yes.
below your feet.
So true. So valuable and so deep. And
Yes.
you are raising this red alert very well before in time so that we can actually help people to save their future and not get into that situation which they do not want to see for them and for their family. So, as a transformational coach, Gerard, what advice would you want to give to our audience so that they can actually start future proofing their income and carve the right path in their career?
Great question, Coach Silpa. As I mentioned previously, the number
Mm-hmm.
one advice I would want to give to our audience is to start with the acres of diamond in their own backyard. As you listen to us, I wanted to Google and look out this book. This book is, I think it's free right now.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to this book. There we have
Mm-hmm.
audio versions. Many times people look for things elsewhere. And yet you've worked 20 years, you worked 30 years. There is a skill you have. There is
Yeah.
expertise you have. Look
Mm.
at what you can do with those expertise, those skills, that level of knowledge, and look for somebody who can help transform that, blend it into an asset that you'll have for the rest of your life. So if you have been employed as a knowledge worker, which most of you are, okay, because you're
Mm.
college
Mm.
educated, many of you have postgraduate qualification, you have several certifications you have attended.
Mm.
So what this means is that you are highly valued because you have skills, you have knowledge, you have expertise. So this is your acres of diamond that you now need the help of coaches like Shilpa, like myself, and others out there who will help to transition you. For
Yes.
instance, we have mentioned, you've had me introduce in other
Yes.
episodes Coach Shilpa as a transition expert. So people like
Yeah.
Coach Shilpa are the people right now you should turn to so
Thank you.
that they can take this knowledge for which they've
Mm-hmm.
been employing you, they have been paying you, they can
Mm.
take your expertise. Many of you are department heads, many of you are C-suite executives. You
Yeah.
could be somebody at quite mid-level or higher up, because by 40s, most people are like middle to top level
Yes.
management.
Yes.
So that skill, we have coaches,
Mm.
transition specialists like Coach Shilpa, as I mentioned, they can turn that to your acres of diamond.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would like you, as you listen to us, is you get crystal clear on your
Mm.
skills and your
Mm.
expertise, and you compare that with your ultimate desire and work hand in hand with successful coaches,
Yeah.
with people like myself, people like Coach Silva, so that this becomes your source of success. So this is why I keep saying, and I believe Coach Shilpa, you'll agree with me, this is
Yeah.
why you need at this point in time to
Yes.
seek for a mentor, a coach who has been there, who has done that, so that this journey of career transition begins and it's done smoothly, not just in 1 minute, not just in
Yeah.
1 month.
Yeah.
Neither do you wait for a letter or a meeting to be called, you to be called to the office and say, hey, in the next 2 months, the company is downsizing. You don't want this to happen. And this is why I'm saying this again, and I want to say it again, that this is the time I would invite you to begin to look at transition coaches, right?
Yes.
Like Coach Shilpa, to help you, to give you a roadmap so that you can begin a smooth journey, maybe within 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, depending on how ready you are to join the market now as a new person, God Shepherd. This is
Yeah.
why, this is the kind of advice I want our audience who are dear,
Wow.
who are listening to us to have, to
Yes.
future
Yes.
proof their incomes.
Yeah. Thank you for being so upfront, and thank you for recommending to have a mentor and a coach. And yes, I can help you all, our lovely audience. Not just me, look around. There may be other coaches, consultants like Dr. Gerald, like other people we have invited on our show, because
Mm,
we choose these people who can be the right mentor for you.
yes.
And why mentor? Because he can help you see what is invisible to you.
Mhm.
And myself and Coach Gerald, we also have our own mentors, and we
Yes.
also believe in mentorship at every stage of life. And
Yes.
at every stage, you may need a relevant mentor. Why? Because we really cannot see what we have been avoiding.
Exactly.
And this is the time to face the truth so that we do not have an unpleasant future. So I deeply value what Dr. Gerald you're telling, and I deeply value your suggestion to reskill, be future ready, and start getting mentorship and course so that you can actually plan your journey and start implementing before it is too late. So thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Coach Gerard, for all these very eye-opening remarks and setting the red alert and the tone
Mm,
for the discussion. As we come towards the end of this episode, because I know there are so many things we want to share with our audience in our coming episodes
mhm.
also, because it's not only our uh, desire to set an alarm, but also help our audience start preparing and get ready for what's coming. So, in coming episodes, also we'll speak about it.
Exactly.
However, what are the key lessons to start off you want to share with our audience so that they remember and implement?
Oh, excellent question, Coach Shilpa. I like the fact that you have kind of let the cat out of the bag. And as we said, as we are talking the other day, it's
Mm,
really important to be able to prepare our audience
yes,
for the future because let's face it, in life, there are times when people kind of forget. And many researchers have noticed this.
yes,
Majority of the people wait until they're woken up by tragedy.
yes, yes.
And
So,
so as coaches, as mentors, this is why we are sounding the warning bell,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We are sounding this warning bell not to scare you as you listen to us, but we are here your advocates. So we
yeah,
want you to get out of the sleeping bag, so to say. So we begin to transition you. We begin to help you. As Coach Silva mentioned, we have coaches we can recommend who have proven experience to help you. Like
Yes.
Coach Silp and I, when we started our transition journey, it just did not take 1 month. It
Hmm.
took several years, and we are still on
Yes.
the process. So one of the things, and like as the statistics of IBM mentioned, in the next 3 years, more than 120 million people will have to re-skill themselves. And what
Mm.
this means potentially that if you fail to reskill yourself, your boss is going to say bye-bye to you. So if you're an engineer, if you're a banker, if you're a financial analyst, what would you do? How would you pay? Maybe you have a mortgage. What are you going to do? You're very experienced, but then you're made redundant, or they make you much smaller. From C-suite, you come down.
Mm.
Obviously, you wouldn't like that. And so, Coach Shilpa, as you answered, the key lessons I would like our listener today to
Yes.
go home with, one of it is the
Mm.
need for all knowledge workers.
Mm.
By this, I mean people who are college educated, generally right now in mid-level and senior level position, who
Mm.
have been using their professional experience to begin to adjust their mindset so
Yes.
that the reality of no job being a permanent job they should wake up to this reality. And I
Yes.
think, Coach Shilpa, this is the number one thing I want to emphasize. Because when I remember my school days, they always said, go for a professional job. You will have the job for the rest of your life.
Yes.
I know you'd agree
Absolutely.
with me. This is a
Yeah.
global phenomenon from China all the way to the US and from
Yeah.
Greenland all the way to Antarctica,
Yeah.
because our school system trained most of us
Mm.
to be job reliant. That you go to
Yeah.
college, you study, you become a banker, you become an engineer, you become a doctor, and then forget about school and just do the job until you retire. And peacefully, then you go and raise and your grandchildren and stuff like that. But we know post pandemic, post the financial crisis, post the current economic crisis which is affecting the entire world, even big companies like Tesla, big like all the big I don't have to mention, you know them, you can Google.
Yes.
They're downsizing. Facebook and all this Meta and all that. Why?
Mm.
Because the reality across the world, there is cooling off economies. So the truth of the matter, knowledge
Mm.
work, as you listen to us, is you need to realize that no job is
Mm.
a permanent job. So
Yes.
when you adopt this mindset that no job is permanent, then your focus should shift from hanging desperately on
Mm.
your current job for survival, just like somebody who is drowning, you know how desperate they hang on to even a leaf. Instead of doing that, would like you to rely on yourself.
Yes.
And and when I mean by self, I mean your skills, your experience, and your expertise.
Yeah.
That again, I want to say, is your acre of diamond. And in
Yeah.
fact, your mentor and my mentor, Dialogue, said, most people don't have an income problem.
They have a skill problem.
They have got skill problem. And I agree with this. So most people say, job, job, job. It's not job. It's a skill. So when you have the time, this is why we want you to solve your skill problem. And this is why, again, I would say where you
Mm.
need to seek for mentorship.
Yes.
So this means that for you to survive without your current job in the company where you're being employed, you
Mm.
need to use your current skills as a stepping stone. Like we said before, you already have good amount of skills. You already people already made you HOD, they made you executive because of those skills. You have a lot to offer already. So would like to encourage you to use those as a stepping stone and
Yeah.
develop other skills and competences, which can then allow you to function in newer roles. some of these roles you've actually been doing. And
Yeah.
principally, we know with our help, you can
Hmm.
function very, very well as a coach. We
Yeah.
know you can function very, very well as a consultant. And we know you can function very, very well as a knowledge worker on your own terms in areas of your expertise. Now, obviously, not in your current stage, we would have to work with you,
Yeah.
okay, to extract the skills and arm you with more skills so that you're
Yeah.
able to do this. So by going through this framework where we are talking about, you would be able to stand on your years of professional knowledge experience and the
Hmm.
skills that you acquired. So all what we will be doing is we would like to make you an independent professional who becomes a business owner.
Yeah.
And because of that transition, a professional person with skill, with knowledge, with expertise, and all this experience to put together, plus what we're going to give you to make you recession proof. So, Coach Silva, this is what I would like our audience, as they are listening to us, to pay attention to. So,
Yeah. That's wonderful.
yes, I agree with you. So this means regardless of the effect of AI, global pandemic, if we experience another one, or geopolitical disturbances that we are witnessing in different parts of the world, you will be able to use your existing skills, plus your competences, plus the addition we are going to give you to earn income, to support your family, and to eventually retire peacefully when you have created impact. God Silver. This is
Wonderful.
what I
Wonderful.
would like the key lessons to look like.
That's really amazing, and I want to thank you on behalf of our audience, Dr. Gerald, for not only sharing your concerns but also showing a way and strongly advocating the need for having a coach or a mentor,
Yes,
because we don't have to struggle alone. We have
yes.
earned all the income for our family. We have taken
Mhm.
care of their needs. Now it is time that you take some help for your self investment and become stronger, so
Yes,
that you can continue to take care of your family with that
yes,
pride, respect, and using your years of expertise and
exactly,
turning it into a profession which can serve you and your family and also the community at large,
exactly.
so that you can create a positive impact in the world, like you converting your expertise to become a coach or a consultant, like we are, and we
Yes.
have a very step by step proven methodology for doing that. Those who are keen and interested, so we
Mhm.
can guide them, so we can speed up their progress, so they don't waste number of hundreds of hours and tons of money be running behind what they think is right and which may
Mhm.
not help them. So you are giving them both. You're telling them the concern, you're
Mhm.
also highlighting what need to done and
Exactly.
how they can actually do it with help of coaches and mentors. So that's beautiful, Dr. Gerard.
Sure.
So our beloved audience, what I can say is that this episode has touched the core of my mind and has
Mhm.
exposed us to many challenges in the work world. And if I can relate some of the takeaways, what Dr. Gerald shared with us, and what we would like you to take home are
Mhm.
like follows. I would like to just summarize few points, Dr. Gerald, with your permission.
Go ahead.
That
Mhm.
every knowledge worker should make their career recession proof, future proof, and
Mhm.
future proof their income by seeking new alternatives well in advance.
Yes.
Many industries are being negatively affected by technological advancement, and so the audience needs to do some due diligence to study the trends in their own industry.
Yeah.
So maybe they can, their position can become stronger in their industry, or
Mhm.
they can start looking out for the alternate income creation on
Mhm.
the side while they have a safety net of their job. And
Exactly.
in the next few years, knowledge workers will need to reskill themselves in order to stay relevant in the job market. As the inventor Alexander Graham Bell mentioned, the best tool working professionals have is to get prepared ahead of time so they
Mhm.
can land safely in future of their career options.
True.
And working professionals should seek out coaching and mentorship so they can be helped to transition safely, smoothly, avoid heartburns from being for full-time employees to being a self-employed professionals as coaches, consultants, and experts. So shifting from job reliance to self-reliance.
True. True.
Anything you would
And
want to add? Any
yes,
final words?
I like the last piece of, first of all, thank you for those very, I think I counted five summaries, which is pretty cool. And I just want to add one aspect. And in doing this,
Mm-hmm.
just for point of emphasis, because if I take my own journey of transition, I would say it
Yeah.
took me about 5 years, right? It took me about
Yes.
5 years to gain the confidence, to gain that I had skills apart from the employed skills, that I could work outside my profession, right? So,
Yeah.
as many of you would know, I am a university educator, but today I'm doing many other things apart from that. So it doesn't mean that you become a different person. You still are yourself, but you're now serving the world
Yes.
in other capacities that were kind of locked in prison, right? So it's like, if you're only focusing, I went and studied engineering, the only thing I will do in this world is engineering. That is where the problem is. And this is the silo mentality that the school system put. Actually, one of my mentors mentions it as miseducation. We are miseducated. We are
Yes.
schooled into thinking that once an accountant, always an accountant. We do not take time to say, maybe I'm a musician also. Maybe I could be a salesperson also. Maybe I could be something else. And so, thank you, Coach Shilpa, again for summarizing this very, very beautifully. In addition to you saying that every person should
Mm.
recession proof their income, and knowing that people should understand the industry, you should take interest in your industry and see what is happening. For
Mm.
example, right now,
Mm-hmm.
like the courier companies, we are going to driverless cars. Taxis
Yeah.
are going to become obsolete, for instance.
Mm. Mm.
Like the financial analysts, the people who usually do the analysis of finances,
Yeah.
computer programs can do better predictions, trading and all that, because they don't get tired, right? They don't make mistakes. The AI is super than the best brain.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You are highly educated. You're an analyst. What will you do? This is why we are reaching out to you and say, hey, think again. This knowledge you have is so huge. The other people from around the world who need this knowledge. This is not the time for
Yes.
you to be desperate. And that is why the final point, which Coach Silpa you mentioned, that professionals are seeking, they should seek out coaching and mentorship opportunity. So this is where your role comes, my role comes, and the role of mentors, proven mentors who themselves have gone through this experience comes in. Now,
Yes.
today you have the job. And what we're advocating is, when you have the safety net of the job where it's still paying your bills, you
Yeah.
then start investing in yourself. Because I can tell you, I invested thousands of dollars in my own journey. And Coach Shilpa, I'm sure you have invested
Yes.
thousands of dollars in
Yes.
your own education to transition you from being an employee, to becoming self-employed and a business person, a business
Yes.
professional, what sometimes we call entrepreneurial
Yes.
CEO. This is what would like you to become, knowledge worker. That's what I wanted to add, Coach Shilpa.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely addition because this is always a value whenever you tell us, Dr. Gerard. And I completely agree. And we continue to strive to give the best advice, best knowledge, and best possibilities to our audience because as the old possibilities are closing in, there are new possibilities of the world opening out for them. And we are bringing them it in their consciousness, so now they can start looking themselves and rethink their career for a better future. So thank you for being with us, Dr. Gerald, as always. And my dear audience, we would like to thank you for staying with us and for your attention.
Yes.
Please read and download the resources we put below this episode. And because we strive to make you successful in your career transformation journey,
Yes.
which is also your own personal transformation journey. Also, if you are new to our Lead Talk podcast, subscribe, download, and share this episode with your loved ones, with your colleagues, with your family, or someone who needs to hear this right now. And also join our private leadership and career transition communities and follow us on social media.
Yeah.
You can also reach out to us directly for coaching, consulting, mentoring, and speaking needs. Do not hesitate to write a mail to us at leadtalkpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Also, in case you feel you are a kind of a coach or a mentor who can make difference in people's life to make it easier and better for them, please do reach out to us, because we can make your voice heard by our audience. We are here to help you navigate through your leadership, career revival, and career transition goal. Let's make 2023 a best year ever for you. So see you in the next episode. Till then, stop struggling, start winning, stop following, and start leading.
Wonderful.
Goodbye.
See you. Goodbye
See
in
you.
the next
Bye.
episode. Thank you.